Let's take a look at what happened in court today. The forensic tests carried out by the experts, forensic expert Roger Dixon, was challenged in court. It says it contradicts that of a police ballistics witness and pathologist that's in regards to the shots that were fired on River Steenkamp. How harmful could this be to finding out the truth in this trial?
Well, it will be very helpful because what the court is faced with in this trial, there's no doubt in the fact that someone died, and someone also admitted, firing the shot that led to the killing. But whether the death was caused intentionally or whether the murder was premeditated is the issue. And then the prosecution is relying mainly on circumstantial evidence. So, and what do we mean by circumstantial evidence? Collateral circumstances that could lead to the inference of guilt. That is what circumstantial evidence seeks out to achieve. So all kinds of evidence, including the evidence of the forensic expert, who will be able to tell the court exactly from the results of the test carried out whether indeed the murder was premeditated. Because if the murder was premeditated, it leads to some other consequences. If not premeditated, it also leads to some other consequences. So the court will rely on some of this expert evidence in order to arrive at a conclusion.
And it seemed that Oscar Pistorius was contradicting himself in court quite a number of times. He kept, as a defense, as a prosecutor said, he kept changing, his testimony along with the defense.
Well, that also is some of the issues the court will. It is very early now, too early now to be able to speculate what the outcome of the case will be. Because the court will look at the case of the prosecution, whether all the witnesses who came to testify for the prosecution were consistent in their testimony. In other words, the court will be interested in knowing whether there's any gap in the case of the prosecution. The court will also be interested in knowing whether, from the evidence of the accused person, there are inconsistencies. All of these will be factored into the findings that will eventually result at the end of the case. So it is too early now to be able to speculate on where the direction of the case will go, because a lot of factors. The judge has a first-hand knowledge of the witnesses. And mind you, we also have assessors.
And just before we get to the judge, of course, South Africa, just like Nigeria, they're almost the same judiciary system. There's no jury, so it rests fully on the judge to eventually decide Oscar Pistorius' fate. What are the factors that could help cloud her judgments in this? Because she's the only one that has the deciding factor at the end of the day.
But I think you also have to appreciate the fact that she's been assisted by two assessors who will assist her in the evaluation of the evidence and also assist her in reaching a final decision. And this is also very important. But I think what the court will be interested in finding out in the final analysis is whether the ingredients of the offenses for which the accused person is standing trial have been proved. And then here we are faced with the problem of murder. Now, for murder to be established, you must show actus rei as well as the mens rea. You must show that there's the physical act, which is not in dispute in this case. But beyond that, you must also demonstrate the mens rea, which is the intention to kill. If that is not established, for instance, if Pistorius was able to establish that he carried out the shooting under a mistaken belief of identity, which is, or in self-defense, which is the defense that he has put up, then the issue then arises. If he's not guilty, was the mistake reasonable? If the mistake is found to have been unreasonable, using the test of the reasonable man, then the issue then arises whether he can be found guilty of culpable homicide, which is akin to manslaughter under the U.S. and then the British laws. So, and if he's now found guilty of culpable homicide, other issues also arise. Because apart beyond murder, there are other issues.
And he also gets a lower sentence at the end of the day.
Although there are other issues too for which he's standing trial.
But just before you go, Mr. Shitu, I just want us to look at Oscar Pistorius' body language throughout the trial. Several times it's been waterworks, he's been crying, he's been vomiting. These are emotions, I don't know, displayed by someone who quite someone who people believe could, a psychologist say he could switch on and off his emotions. They're acting to people who are used to committing this sort of crime.
Well, it depends on a lot of issues will come into play here. For instance, character evidence will come into play. They will also investigate his own history. You will recall that some of the people who have testified, among them are his neighbors, and some one of them is his former girlfriend. So they will find out his history and then look at his demeanor. And the court is entitled to also conclude whether what is playing out in court is a drama or something that is real. And it is only the judge who has a first-hand knowledge of the proceedings and is able to study the demeanor of witnesses who can arrive finally at the conclusion. But I think what should be critical to everybody who's watching these proceedings is that at the end of the day, we should be concerned about that justice is achieved at the end of the day.
Of course.
And beyond that, I think what is also salutary about the Pistorius trial is that it's been alive for all to see. The coverage is alive. There's no intention to cover up any aspect of the proceedings.
Oh, so, but the witnesses are being protected, though.
Yes, those are lessons to draw from that experience. I'm particularly happy that the rule of law is working in that case, and that the status or the identity of the accused person has not been allowed to store the proceedings or to prejudice the fair hearing of the trial process.
And I'm afraid that's where we have to leave it, Mr. Shitu. Thank you so much for joining us on
It's my pleasure to be here.
Today.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
Mr. Wahab Shitu is a legal practitioner. He's based here in Lagos. We'll take a break now on The World Today. When we come back, what the World Organization's latest data on the Ebola virus here in West Africa. To join us again.